The Johnny Depp defamation trial, which focused on the actor's troubled relationship with ex-wife Amber Heard. Johnny Depp furiously reacts to Disney choosing the next Jack Sparrow for POTC 6. This claim is dismissed, the judge said in his judgment. The claimant has not succeeded in his action for libel. Although he has proved the necessary elements of his cause of action in libel, the defendants have shown that what they published in the meaning, which I have held the words to bear, was substantially true. I have reached these conclusions having examined in detail the 14 incidents on which the defendants rely, as well as the overarching consideration which the claimants submitted I should take into account. In those circumstances, Parliament has said that the defendant has a complete defense. It has not been necessary to consider the fairness of the article or the defendant's malice because those are immaterial to the statutory defense of truth. The parties will have an opportunity to make submissions in writing as to the precise terms of the order which should follow my decisions. Regardless of what actually occurred during their 2-year marriage, Depp has faced an uncomfortable spotlight just as Hollywood began to reckon with sexual misconduct. There is no doubt that Mr. Depp regularly and systematically abused his wife, said Sasha White, an attorney for the newspaper in closing argument. The characterization that he is a wife-beater is entirely truthful. David Sherborne, Depp's lawyer, took a different view of the evidence. He has never hit a woman in his entire life. Period. Full stop. Nada, he said during closing. After hearing from both sides, the judge ultimately accepted Heard's testimony. The lengthy decision by Judge Andrew Nicole recounts the allegations of arguments and an angry and jealous spouse. At one point, he writes, "The argument and the damage to property are symptomatic of Mr. Depp's manner when the monster side of his personality was dominant. I also accept the evidence of Ms. Heard that another aspect of the monster was that Depp physically assaulted her, as she described." The monster phrase comes up repeatedly in the judge's decision. In the United States, public figures must show actual malice, knowledge of falsity, or reckless disregard for the truth. But on the other side of the Atlantic, English defamation standards are more loose. The mindset of the publisher doesn't matter as much. It may partially explain why Depp, wisely or not, seized on a UK tabloid's unflattering headline in an attempt to vindicate himself. Nevertheless, thanks to changes in defamation law in 2013, brought upon by desire by lawmakers to make the country less of a tourist hotspot for plaintiffs, truth once again became a statutory defense to libel. In what may be seen as a victory for media outlets, Depp versus Newsgroup newspapers immediately becomes the signature example of such. The judgment was in the hands of Judge Andrew Nicole, who interestingly was once a barrister who co-wrote the celebrated treatise on media law. Johnny and Amber got married in 2015 after a courtship of almost 6 years. The two had met on the sets of the Rom Diary after a marriage that lasted lesser than a year. In 2019, Johnny sued Amber Heard for defamation. The suit read that Amber was just trying to gain positive publicity by creating an elaborative hoax. Heard went on to call out Johnny for multiple cases of domestic abuse and called him a monster. She further claimed that she still retained scars on her arms and feet when Depp threw her on a ping pong table and dragged her through shattered glass. Recently, in 2020, the Daily Mail released a clip of Amber Heard claiming that she hit Depp. Both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard were heard in the recording talking to each other about hitting one another. On July 7, 2020, Depp launched a case against the publisher and executive director of The Sun for calling him a wife-beater. Depp ended up losing the case in November 2020. Depp was also asked to resign from the film Fantastic Beasts 3, in which he was supposed to play Grindelwald. Johnny Depp's team believes it could get a win in the divorce case against Amber Heard. Back in 2017, Amber Heard had acquired $7 million USD, 50.79 lakhs in rupees, and had vowed to donate the sum to the American Civil Liberties Union and the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles in cash. On March 17, 2021, it was found that the Aquaman actor had failed to deliver. Depp's lawsuit against Newsgroup newspaper publisher of The Sun is part of the fallout from his split with Heard, whom he was married to between 2015 and 2017. During the contentious divorce proceedings, her allegations of being the victim of abuse made noise worldwide and continues to be the subject of courtroom scrutiny in multiple cases, including one in Virginia where Depp is directly suing Heard for defamation. Depp has consistently denied slapping her across the face, among various alleged acts, and in fact has pointed his finger at Heard as being the culprit of physical wrongdoing. Amber Heard filed for divorce and a temporary restraining order against the Edward Scissorhands actor, claiming that she was abused by him while doing drugs and alcohol. She added that Johnny threw a phone at her in a fit of rage, which left a bruise on her face. A police officer handling the case told People that no such crimes were reported. Johnny Depp too denied the accusations and said that Heard was plotting to receive a premature financial resolution by alleging abuse. Soon after that Amber withdrew her restraining order, she also refused to receive the $50,000 per month spousal support request. It was reported that Amber Heard donated her $7 million, which she received from the divorce, to charity. Their divorce was finalized in 2017. According to The Hollywood Reporter, the two were disallowed from making negative comments about their relationship in public. A year after that, Amber Heard opened up about being a survivor of domestic abuse in an extensive note published in the Washington Post. Johnny Depp was not mentioned in the note. That, in turn, has had career repercussions. For instance, Disney is working on a new Pirates of the Caribbean without Depp reprising his perhaps most famous character of Captain Jack Sparrow. The UK dispute focused on an article in The Sun published on April 27, 2018. Dan Wootton, an editor at the paper, discussed ramifications of the Me Too movement in a story originally headlined "How Can J.K. Rowling Be Genuinely Happy Casting Wife-Beater Johnny Depp in the New Fantastic Beasts film?" The case went to trial in July, becoming one of the few live civil proceedings to happen in the midst of COVID-19 pandemic. According to reports, 5 different courtrooms were used to accommodate social distancing and featured testimony from both Depp and Heard, various friends and colleagues, law officers, and others. Observers to the trial heard all sorts of wild stories about the relationship, from drug abuse to how he allegedly once spelled her name in urine after a violent fight, how she allegedly once took a poop on a couple's bed. That expression was not a figment of Miss Heard's imagination, states the opinion. I accept her evidence that Mr. Depp used the term to refer to that part of his personality when affect my drink and or drugs. He would do things which he would not otherwise do and of which he might have no recollection afterwards. As for Heard's credibility, Depp's presentation of recordings that purportedly showed she was the real abuser in the relationship, and Heard's acknowledgement of getting physical as a means of self-defense, she said. Nicole added, "In my view, no great weight is to be put on these alleged admissions by Miss Heard to aggressive, violent behavior, because this case occurred in the UK. There was a particular emphasis on whether the Sun could establish any truth to the notion that Depp is a wife-beater.